Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we prepare for Dan Baldwin, psychic detective, author, dowser, wears a lot of hats, but tonight he's wearing a fantastic cowboy hat. I absolutely love this. This is going to be amazing tonight. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you tuning us in tonight, including Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, Kitty Caddywhack with a bronze medal tonight, Lil Cam over on YouTube, jacked up for this one. Yep, he's jacked up. He did 48 leg presses of 800 pounds in a minute 28 seconds. Moving the legs tonight, moving the legs. Robert Lamoth, Brown Dwarf, and T-Bone, my man. How you doing? Bar Madison, Laura Lobbs, Little Timmy James. Good to see you all. Hi, Eternity Eternal. Frankie B. Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. Never feels good. Never feels good. Thanks for lubing us up tonight, Mel. It's going to be a great show. Mark Sanchez and his Hawaiian shirts are here. Mark Sanchez will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you around here. Mama Catherine. Mwah! Mama Catherine's here. She will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Vapster, how you doing? And number 17 in your program, starting at center ice tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Projected to score 34 goals this year. Cosmic Joe, how are you? And thank you for kicking off this super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. In the studio, how you doing? And who's next on the list? Thomas Rock, good to see you. As we continue on with our roll call tonight. Scrolling on down, we got W. David Page. Nice to see you. Operation Shutdown. Furry Slits, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing? As we continue on with our roll call, Necessary Dialogue. Candy, Melissa Nicole, how are you all? Al Garay over on Twitch. Bench press 550 pounds tonight, 27 times. Guys' arms are jacked for tonight's show. Just jacked. Scrolling on down. Hello there, Kimberly Burgess. How are you? And who's next on our list here? Let's say hello next to Hillbilly Herb. Good to see you, buddy. Audacious Amber. Nice to see you. Monica. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us. J Truth Seeker. Good to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, there's Dragonfly and Damian K. It's been a while, Damian. Good to have you back. Joel, over on X, I hope your hair and goatee combination are high and tight tonight, buddy. High and tight. John Lamb, good to see you. Scott B., good to have you here. And I'm taller than 5'4", buddy. Nina Williams, Yennefer with a soft J. Nice to see you all. Hi, Superknower, Matthew Goodka. Good to see you both. And who's next on our list? Joey Glow. Thanks for coming on in. And Mike Bothwell. Cat's Tongue. Good to have you both here. Roll call. Next on the list, Jessica S. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us as we are about to have author Dan Baldwin on the show. We're going to talk everything from psychic detectives to UFOs, paranormal. It's going to be a great show tonight. You are in for a lot of fun, I promise you. As we are in roll call right now, Richard Minnick, good to see you. Vanessa, thank you for coming on in. And Richard, thank you for that lovely super chat. We very much appreciate your great support and love of SOR. Nathan, how you doing from the Quantum Show? Nice to have you here. V. Sanch, welcome to SOR chat, all the way from Spain. Love it. Love it. Riley Ron, how you doing? Good to see you. Night Watch, thanks for coming on in. It's that time of the night, everybody, for all of us to throw those horns up. Let's rock. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of everything from paranormal and supernatural tonight. Author, researcher, psychic detective Dan Baldwin is here. We're going to get into his story momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller coming on in. Tim James is here for an abbreviated UFO report. It's Dave 101 night, and we'll have the weird news of the week. Let's get right to it. Dan Baldwin is a practicing pendulum dowser, using his skills to explore what he calls the other side of everything. He's an award-winning author for his fiction, nonfiction, and film and television commercial work. He is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, co-founder of Find Me, an international group of psychic detectives. He's also a writer and speaker on the paranormal side. He's got paranormal books out. They include Find Me, They're Not Yet Lost, True Stories of Psychic Detective. Oh man, I got, that's a book I want. That is a book that I want. Why? Because it's amazing how psychic detectives can help pinpoint things. And if you're intuitive, even if you're mildly intuitive, like I consider myself, you literally go around thinking, man, I wish I could be accurate on things. I wish I could just see things, or we always use our skepticism on it. We're going to learn more about this tonight. Dan Baldwin is here. Dan Baldwin, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I'm very excited to have you here. How are you?
I am fine, and I'm equally excited.
It's great to have you here. And I want to ask you and get our audience to know you a little bit here, Dan. When did you key into your own intuition? When did this become a part of your life?
Well, yeah, if you read my books, you understand that I describe myself as a psychic on training wheels, because I came to that awareness very, very late in life. Looking back, I can see threads of it, all the way back to childhood. But I was probably 20, 22 years ago, something like that, that it suddenly hit me that I needed to explore this area. And the story behind that is very interesting, because it's something that had never happened to me before, and something that if you had told me, I probably would not have believed it. But in the afternoon, late in the afternoons after work, I'm a writer, so I like to take a walk in the evening, and I call it dumping the trash. You deal with editors and publishers, and you're all gnarled up. So I'll take a walk, smoke a really good cigar, and calm down. And one day I was taking a walk down in a little park area, and I'm not a clairaudient. I don't hear voices, but I swear to God, I heard a voice that said, "Find missing children." Just, out of the blue. And I looked around, there was nobody around me. There were no cars driving by. There were no windows open with the TV playing or anything like that. It was just a command. It felt like I was in an old Bill Cosby routine about Noah, Noah, this is the Lord. And I couldn't believe it, but the feeling stuck with me. I mean, it would not go away. And so after about 3 months of just this nagging in the back of my head, you're supposed to find missing children. And I don't know where that impetus came from. But I finally just said, okay, I've got to do something about this. And I've got to start finding missing kids. And how do you do that? I'm not a trained detective. I'm not a cop. And it occurred to me that my mother had told me one time that there's a psychic strain in our family. I said, well, maybe this psychic angle is something I can work with. So basically, I started hanging out with psychic bookstores, meeting psychics, and talking to people. And I met enough people who I trusted, who said, "Yeah, Dan, you have a talent for this. You really need to follow it." And I was still searching for well, how do I do that? So I was played with the tarot cards, played with the crystal ball, and finally I saw at one of the bookstores a woman doing this little number. And it just hit me. I said, I can do that. And so I found out that's called pendulum dowsing. And I asked her how she did it. And I started, doing a little bit of study. And I developed an ability to dowse with a pendulum. And then that's how I started looking for missing kids.
I love it. I love it. You said you were a late bloomer in all of this.
Very late.
How old were you when you all of a sudden just figured out that you were psychic?
Well, let's see. I'm 74 now, so that would have been, I would have been 50. Very, very late. It came out of the blue. I've always believed everybody is psychic. I always believe everybody had a little bit of psychic ability in them, but this just came way out of the blue, and it just bang, hit me in the head. And I had to pursue it. And fortunately, it opened a door, which opened another door, which opened another door. And as you said, now I'm looking for the other side of everything. But it started when I was about 50.
When all of a sudden you have this idea at 50 years old to go down the rabbit hole, I went down the rabbit hole at 38 years old. And I thought that was, maybe my midlife crisis of that happening right there. But to do it at 50, to all of a sudden take everything you've learned in the first 50 years of life and kind of shove it to the side to find out this entirely new construct of psychic ability, intuition, learning what the phenomenon is. How was that journey for you?
It was surprisingly easy. I mean, once I made up my mind, this is something I'm supposed to do. I just threw myself into it whole hog. And interesting thing, I was raised in the deep South, so the response from my family was interesting. One side of the family thinks that I'm going to hell. The other side of the family says I'm doing the Lord's work. So you learn not to listen to other people and just follow your own instincts. So the transition was really easy.
For a lot of people, it's difficult. Why do you think it was easy for you?
One, I honestly think this is something I'm supposed to be doing. And two, I've always tried to keep an open mind to new ideas. Uh, for example, I have no trouble talking with skeptics, because you can have an intelligent conversation with a skeptic. Uh, I have problems talking with true believers who are, trapped in their own box. But as far as
Go ahead,
yeah, I haven't
please.
had no, I haven't had a lot of ridicule or abuse. I have a lot of neighbors who go, "Well, that's old Dan down on the neighborhood, but he's okay."
Well, that's good.
I thought,
That's
I'll tell you a story about a public reaction. I
please
was
do.
I was no, I was back in. I'll tell you too. I was back in Louisiana speaking to a Rotary Club. A friend invited me to tell people what I was doing, and I was talking to a policeman. He came up. He said, "Dan, I appreciate your presentation. It was fascinating, really interesting, but I just don't believe in the psychic stuff." And I said, "Well, have you're a policeman. Have you ever stood on one side of a door and just know that there's something bad on the other side?" "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." "You call that cop instinct, don't you?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "That's your psychic ability." And he went, "Oh,
Bingo.
oh, oh." And the other story, and this happens to me a lot. I'll make a presentation on like spirit world contact, and most people, they're at least interested. A lot of people are kind of so-so about it. There are a couple of believers, but I've always had at least one person comes up to me and they'll go, "Dan, you're real serious, and I appreciate that, and I understand that you think you've had contact with ghosts, but I don't believe in ghosts. But listen, one time I was in my grandmother's house. They looked sideways. I swear to God, I saw my grandmother baking cookies. I swear to God, I did." No, back off. You know,
I know that story,
you
Dan. I
know,
know
you,
the story.
you've had it happen to you, right?
Well, you know what's funny is I have a daytime job, and my audience, most of my audience knows this story, but I love telling it. And I live in a small town of about 2,500 people. And one day, a client of mine brings in his daughter. And I'm always bugging her old man because he owns a logging company. And I always bug him, "Hey, tell me where the Sasquatch are." And he's like, "They don't exist." I'm like, "Yeah, they do." And we tease each other about it. And the daughter, who's 23, she looks at me. She goes, "Oh, so you're that guy who is around town that looks for Sasquatch?" I said, "Sure am." And she looks at me with this snide look, and she goes, "People talk about you." And
Yeah.
I went, "Yeah, they do." And she goes, "Well, it doesn't bother you that people are talking about you?" I said, "You know what?" I said, "All of those people I know." And I said, "You know what? I know their stories."
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm trying to do, what I'm doing is to more or less get the word out there that there is more to the universe than most people allow themselves to experience. So the more people talk about me, I just consider that free publicity.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But it is amazing, though, how there is this portion of society who thinks we should be embarrassed about the things we talk about or the things we do or the things we believe in. I find that kind of entertaining. It used to upset me, but
Yeah.
now I kind of find it entertaining because once the people who deny believing in any of this realize that you are serious, they now feel comfortable to open up to you and tell their story.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. The other side is, everyone, I have some friends who are I call true believers, and I used to be upset. They would mock me, in a friendly way, like you do with friends. Nothing designed to hurt my feelings or anything like that. But eventually, my feelings kind of evolved into a fact that I just feel sorry because of what you are denying yourself. Yeah, your belief system is denying you a sense of wonder of the universe.
When you look at the fact that people are connected, we're all spiritually connected one way or another to the phenomena, whether we've forgotten about that connection or not is a completely different story. What are some of the positives in your own change since you were 50 years old and opened up that you have noticed within you? How have you changed?
I don't think I've changed that much. My perspective has changed a bit in that I realize that there is a much bigger world, much bigger universe, more universes out there, if you want to call it that. It's just more. It's bigger than we can possibly comprehend, and that exploring it has its dangers, but it also has its wonders, and it also has an incredible amount of fun. So, life for me just continues to be more fun, and it continues to be more and more interesting. Every time I learn something, it opens another door into another area. Yeah, I went from psychic detecting to the spirit world, making contact. From that, I went to exploring the UFO phenomenon, and then I went to exploring the spirit connection to the UFO phenomenon. And I'm just wondering, what's next? I can't wait.
Why do you think the phenomenon can be the highest of highs and lowest of lows, the happiest of happiness, and the cruelty of pulling dreams and wishes away from people? Why do you think it's such an emotional roller coaster?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. I think a lot of people are very comfortable inside their box, and once you bust out of the box, uh, like I said, it's a much bigger, more complex, more exciting universe. But a lot of people are intimidated by that. Yeah, I kind of divide the world into what I call the hearth dwellers, people who stay at home, and the explorers. And the hearth dwellers want to stay in the house. They do not want to get out and explore. And the explorers are the ones who go out and explore. And I consider myself an explorer. And I'm trying to. There's nothing wrong with being a hearth dweller. They serve an important goal. But I'm trying to teach people it's okay to step out the front door. There's a marvelous universe out there. You're part of it. You can be a bigger, better, more informed, more enjoyable part of that bigger universe if you just step out and start exploring.
Oh, I fully agree with you
Yeah.
that you have to explore, but I just feel that the phenomena, the one thing that I've noticed in the people around me who I've asked the same question to, is that it can be cruel sometimes. Even though you're trying your damnedest to be a good person, the
Mhm.
phenomena, whatever it is, can be very cruel.
Really haven't had that happen to me in terms of personal cruelty. The only downsides I've had is in the psychic detecting angle when either you can't find somebody or you find somebody too late. That can be a heartbreaker.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess what I mean by that is is people who I've talked to who've gone down this road, they have gained a lot of good friends in the community, but they've lost a lot of their personal connections with
Yep.
people that they love and trust, whether it's family or longtime friends. Example, I lost my friend of 28 years over this because he hated me looking into this. He did not want to understand it, didn't care to understand it, thought I had lost my mind. Right. And
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's if you're going to be an explorer, that's part of the price tag. You have to take that risk. When I make my presentations to different groups, I tell them, I give them an invitation. I will show you how to do this. making the connection with the spirit world is not rocket science. You can do this yourself. And, some people are just afraid to take that step. I think part of it is they've got a belief system. And if they get, if they make spirit contact or if they see a UFO or something like that, it's going to bust that belief system. And then they have to start thinking. And the thinking leads to evaluation. And that can be very painful for a lot of people.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
I fully understand and comprehend that, my friend.
Well, yeah, it's a lot like the political situation we have just been through. Best friends, family members have busted up over, I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat, we're now enemies. It's crazy. But, there's a correlation there with the psychic world, like you believe in ghosts, I don't, I can't talk to you anymore. Well, that's part of the price tag.
I can see that. I can totally see that. As you evolved as a psychic, because the next half hour, I want to get into what it's like being a psychic detective. I want to learn what it's about and hear some of the stories, both good and bad, that
I've
you
got them both.
Have worked with cases. But how did you decide to become a psychic detective? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that you had that voice that said, find kids or find children. Pardon me if I'm misquoting. But you obviously had to sit down and do some real soul searching on whether or not this was for you.
No, the soul searching, it came much later. Actually, making the decision was, it came pretty quick. It was like, I don't want to say a commandment or something, but it was a thought that would not leave my head. It was something I just had to follow. And so making that transition was pretty easy. So that if, once I decided this is something I'm going to do about it, there was no thinking or evaluation left. I'm going to do it. I'm charging forward. That's it. The soul searching came later when, as we were just discussing, friends started giving you kind of funny looks and things like that. But the decision itself, it was like that.
Do you remember your first case?
Oh yeah, still with me. It's unsolved.
What
I did. It was a little girl who went outside playing with her bike and just completely disappeared. This is 24 years ago, and it was. I picked the case because it was the hot news at the time, and I started working on it, and that was totally ignorant of the process. I just had the pendulum, and I worked and worked. And interestingly enough, I got the name. Whether I'm right or not, I think I'm right, but I got the name of the kidnapper. I got the location of where he lived. I got his connection. He lived out of state. I got his connection with Arizona, and I turned it over to the police. And as I walked out, I was thinking, well, this cop has got to think I'm crazy. But as he was walking me out, he recorded the whole interview. He said, Dan, he said, the biggest case I solved last year was solved by a psychic. Thank you. And later on, there was a psychic who was working with the police on that specific case. She was kind enough to pass along words. She told me, she said, the detectives want you to know that you connected a couple of major dots. So I know I did. I know I was accurate on something. I have no idea what I was accurate on. I've got an idea, but I don't know.
How do you get called into a case?
Back, I'm no longer with the Find Me group, but when I was working with them, we would get calls from all over the world. FBI, local police, gendarmes, Carabinieri, the federales, you name it, and they would go to a central location, and then they would go out to the different psychics all around the world. We would do our reports without talking to each other, then send it back in. So we got the phone calls. And so it's done by somebody calls up and says help. And at that time, for about 15 years, I was working probably 4 to 5 cases a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to get more into that. We're going to get more into that, Dan, when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Dan Baldwin is our guest tonight. His website, danbaldwin.com. You can find all of his books on his website and all the links to them. Fiction, nonfiction, they're all right there. If you like a good paranormal story, Dan's the guy you want to add to your library. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear.
Okay.
We are clear. Hi, Mr.
Going-
Cow. How you doing? Good morning, Ian in the UK. How are you? Warden Dragon, nice to see you. Who else has jumped in here? Keyshawn, good to have you back. Gary Reed, welcome to SOR Chat. Let's see here. Just quickly saying hello to everybody who's hopped on in here, because I try and say hello to each and every person who comes in our chat room. It's like one of my addictions I have during this show. You having fun yet, Dan?
Oh, we're off the air.
Yeah, our YouTube and
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah. How am I
Hear
doing?
us.
How am I
You
doing?
are doing fantastic.
Okay.
I hope I'm doing good for you, my man.
Oh yeah, just keep throwing questions and I'll keep yakking away.
Yeah, Dirty Filth, how about giving us a wave? Oh, thumbs up.
Drawing? What's he drawing there?
Well, let's take a look here. We'll just zoom in. There we go.
All right, we got. It's got aliens and cats tonight. Of course, there's going to be cats.
I've got 3 cats myself.
Well, I've got 4 cats, mister.
Wow. I was doing we have 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, we got a couple minutes.
Oh yeah, I was doing a podcast last year, and I have my big cat just loves me. He's my pal, but I keep him locked out when I'm doing a podcast or a radio show. And the host asked me at one point, said, "Well, in all this psychic work with spirits and everything, have you ever encountered anything demonic?" And right at that moment, my cat could not have timed it better.
Well, usually I've got my blob here. She's about 9,000 years old, but she's sleeping on top of the heat register right now. It's starting to get cold in Canada. Also, Dave, I fixed the internet.
What's that, Dirty?
I fixed the internet. I don't know what I did. I jiggled some cords and unplugged some things and plugged them back in, and everything's working. So I was having massive difficulties the last couple of days. It was terrible.
Probably because your sprockets stopped working.
All the sprockets and rockets work just fine. I think perhaps maybe one of the cats were chewing on some of the cords. It's probably that orange guy, that gremlin.
Probably.
You can never trust an orange cat. Well, you can, but they're dubious.
Oh yeah, they are dubious.
Got an outside picture, and then a picture inside the craft, and then a picture inside the house. I just love drawing little short comic strips. And it's going to be an orange cat as well, for good measure.
Always an orange cat causing trouble.
No, and I even opened the window in the studio, hopefully opening the cat vortex, and nobody showed up. So I'm kind of upset with that. I think we need to go a little light on the snacks tonight, Dave. Except
think
Blob.
they
She's
Blob
okay.
needs. Hi, JSCO. How you doing?
Hi,
Jeff
JSCO.
He'll hit a home run for you, Jeff Steve Garvey. Pyramid 7, good to see you. Lunico. Remember, questions in hour number 2, people. Hour numero 2.
Does that mean there's 6 previous pyramids?
Could be.
If there's Pyramid 7?
I think the answer is 42.
If
Cokeland,
you're
how are
American,
you?
it's 47.
Hi, Poncho Zorch. Good to see you. We got 10 seconds. Thank you, Joe, Richard times 2, T-Bone, Walter, and Scott for the super chats. Here we go, everybody. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our show is on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Author, researcher, psychic intuitive, Dan Baldwin is here. We're going to be talking about being a psychic detective. His website, danbaldwin.com, where you can find all of his books. Dan, thank you very much for being here tonight. It's been great having you so far.
Loving it. Loving every minute of it.
That's a good lover boy song. I want to ask you, as we get into the psychic detectives, how many cases do you think you worked on?
Hundreds. Like I said, at one time I was working 4 or 5 cases a month, and I did that for 15 years. So a lot. And again, sometimes I was way off. Sometimes I was right on target. It just depends. Psychic world. It's like anything else. You're never nobody's at 100% of the time. So, you can be off, you can be on. I will say when I'm cooking, I'm really good at it. Really good at it.
How do you do it? Considering you work with missing children, and I know for me and adults, okay,
yeah.
But how do you do it with children? Because I know for me, there are certain things that are triggering for me. And one of those triggers is if a child is hurt or gone missing. Because I literally, I have no bones about it saying it, but if I ever caught the person who did it, I would have to hurt them back. Like there is no choice. There's no way to explain this to me.
No, it's like I frequently say, child abusers are why God invented baseball bats.
I would agree.
Yeah, it's looking for children it can be extremely difficult. It can be extremely emotional, and some of my psychic friends have had to drop out of it because of that reason. They just couldn't handle it. It's tough, and it's also rewarding when it works. The unfortunate thing about psychic detecting is, we ought to be first responders, and we're the last people called in. It's like, the police would say, we've tried everything else, we may as well try the psychics. So usually by the time a psychic detective is brought in, there's a good chance the person is already gone. Not always, but there's a good chance of it.
So take us through how this works, start to finish. Who calls you?
Okay, so that can be anybody. if someone would, if I get a call now, I have to take it from a police authority, like, you know, the FBI or the local police, or maybe an attorney, and I would have to clear it with the local authority. I'd say, you know, I'm a psychic. I've been asked to work on this case. May I do that? I promise to, you know, work through you and not the family, that sort of thing. Phone call, email, that sort of thing. The problem, if you talk to the managers at any police department, the upper level, they will tell you they don't work with psychics. If you talk to the street cops, they're much more open to it, because they, you know, they deal with cop instinct. Even if they don't believe in psychics, they know that they have the psychic ability because they've got cop instinct. So they're much more open to it. Yeah,
what would
go
be
ahead.
the reason the police call you?
Well, a lot of the police at the lower level aren't hesitant about calling psychics. And then also sometimes the family will call will call a psychic, and like me, the psychic will call up the cop and say, "Can I work on this case?" And usually the cop says, "Sure, fine." Yeah, again, when I get a call, I don't work many cases anymore because I've moved into the spirit world and into the UFO thing. But if I get a call from, say, well, I got a call from an attorney, and there was somebody in the family he represented, you know, wanted me to work the case. I said I would, but I would need the name and the contact information of the cop in charge, and I would have to clear it through them. And if I got the clearance to do that, I would tell the cop that I would work through him exclusively, that I would have no more contact with the family as far as the information, and I would feed everything that I got to him, and then hope that it would work out.
So you get called onto a case. Then what's the process next? What do you do?
For me, again, I'm a pendulum dowser, so I have a rock on a string. And for those in the audience who aren't familiar with it, the rock on a string is just a form of dowsing. You know, the old guy, the old farmer with the old witching stick, the old Y-shaped stick, looking for the water hole in the ground, and he gets over the water, and the stick turns down. It's the same thing, except you use a rock on a string, and you ask a question, and you know, a swing to the right is a yes, a swing to the left is a no, and a backward forward means either probably you need to rephrase the question. And in terms of pendulum dowsing, you have to ask yes or no questions. And the process I use in looking for someone, I call squaring the box. For example, asking yes or no questions. Is the missing person in Arizona? You got a yes. Is the missing person in southern Arizona? You get a yes. All right, you've cut your search area in half. Is the missing person in southeast Arizona? You get a yes. All right, you've cut you cut 3/4 of the case down, and eventually, by reducing the size of that box, you know, is he east of I-17? Is he north of I-10? Is he south of Highway 360? So and so and so. So you get that box down to smaller and smaller areas, and eventually, if you're working in a city, you can get it down to streets. Actually, I've actually doused street addresses before. You know, is he on Main Street? Is he on the 100 block of Main Street, 200 block of Main Street? Is he at 101 Main Street? Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. In the wilderness area, I got a couple of cases I can tell you about that, but you would just go, you would reduce the size of the area down to, say, I don't know, say 50 miles, and you get out a map, reduce it down. Is he north of this highway? Is he south of this mountain range? Is he east of this waterfall? You get out a topological map, you can get down to specific features. You know, is he on this road? Is he at, you know, south of this low water bridge? Is he north of this fence line, and something like that? And you just shrink the box down to an area where someone can go and walk in and find the person. If you're right, this is what I tell the police: if I'm right, you can go there and you'll find the person. If I'm wrong, you'll know. Yeah, you know I'm wrong right off the bat, and you can move on to something else. One of the problems the police have with working with psychics, and it's legitimate and no fault of the psychic. I had a case where the psychic, she was from Australia. described the location of the missing man we were looking for to a T. I mean, perfectly. But her description fit hundreds of thousands of locations in Arizona. So even though we had a perfect description, we couldn't go there. You want to hear about that case? I can tell you a little bit more.
Please
okay.
continue.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so we got the call. This goes back, I don't know, 10 years or so. But a families was concerned. A young man, his name was Palmer, had left. He was a hiker, a camper, had a 4-wheel drive, and they were concerned because he was missing, and they were worried about him. And they said, we know he's somewhere in Arizona or Colorado or Utah or New Mexico. That was the search area. So yeah, again with the pendulum dowsing, is he in Arizona? Yes, blah 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 blah. Did that, and we had different psychics. Like I said, the woman in Australia pegged the site to a T. Somebody else said, I get the number 260, and that's all I get. That's all I get. And then somebody else said, well, he stopped off at a small store run by a little old man, and he bought some stuff at the store, and that's all they got. Then I started doing the pendulum dowsing, shrinking the box. I got it down to a specific dirt road on a specific area, down to a 1 mile stretch, 50 yards each side that stretch. And I said, if you go to this road at this fence, go out 50 yards and walk north, you will find him. So the family, this was happening in real time. So the family took off. They made up a bunch of posters, missing person posters. They headed north, and they figured there's an area in Arizona called the Mogollon Rim, which is in north central Arizona. It's a beautiful, beautiful camping spot. And that was one of his places that he liked to go. And they figured we'll try looking there. And it turns out, as they were going up there, we were in contact with them on the radio. Well, the Mogollon Rim is on Highway 260, runs right through the Mogollon Rim. They stopped at a little store, and it's run by a little old man. He said, yeah, your guy was here. He bought some beans. He was going camping. And so they went to my dirt road, and they're going up the dirt road. And precisely at the spot where I said he would be, they found him. And that site matched perfectly the description of that the lady in Australia had described. I mean, to a T. It was perfect. But to get there, we had to put all those clues together to go to the one spot. So yeah, one of the problems the police have with working with psychics is the information can be extremely detailed, but unavailable, unusable. I see the missing person. He's by a road. There's a bridge in the distance, and there's a mountain in the distance, and there's a stream running by, and there's a fence with a sign that says no trespassing on it, and there's an old rusty car off to the right. Well, how many places in America does that describe? Hundreds of thousands. One of the benefits of psychic detecting is if you're cooking, and if you do it right, you can get latitude and longitude. You can get down to square feet. This guy is at latitude this, longitude there. You can go there, and there you'll be.
When you were looking for people, do you get a photo of what they look like? Do you get any information whatsoever to help you pick up on the energy?
Only when I work it, and I think this is true for a lot of us, I don't want too much information. The information I would like, photo would be nice. A current photograph would be nice, but not necessary. I'd like to know the last place the person was seen, and then I will work from there. Any more information than that, the critical mind starts working, and pendulum dowsing depends on the subconscious mind. So sometimes the more information you have, the more you start thinking about it, and the further away you get from your psychic ability, and you're more into Sherlock Holmes territory. So yeah, minimal information is what I like.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, the person was last seen at the Circle K on XYZ Street. Well, I can go, are we looking for Bob? Is Bob north of the Circle K? Yes or no? Is he within 25 miles? Yes or no? Is he within 12 miles? Yes or no? That sort of thing. Once I have a specific point, I can peg out from there and try to get directions and mileage.
Tell us a story about a successful case you had in finding a missing person alive.
Let's see. There was one, well, it's kind of interesting. It shows how you work, how you can do your work very well and still not mean anything. I got a case, missing girl. A girl went missing up in, I think it was Illinois, somewhere way up in Illinois. And they thought she was headed toward Tucson. She had friends in Tucson, Arizona. And so I said, well, if she's in Illinois and she's going to go to Tucson, she's going to come down. She's got to come down I-40 at some point. And got out my pendulum and, asked if the girl was missing. Got a yes, she's missing. I said, is she traveling on I-40 now? Got a yes on that. Got out my map, pinpointed a location on I-40. I said, I got a specific city. I don't remember which one. But I said, is she in motion? Got a yes. I'm boiling down a lot of time, but discovered that she was traveling. She was hitchhiking with a traveling salesman. That she was safe with the traveling salesman. He wasn't going to harm her. And so, being familiar with I-40, I figured, if he's driving, he could drive X amount of distance before sundown. That would have put him in Albuquerque. Yeah, at this point, I'm just guessing. But I worked with the pendulum. Is it likely that he will be in Albuquerque around sundown? I got a yes. So this is a traveling salesman. He's going to look for a motel. So is it likely that he will stop at a motel? Got a yes. Went online, got the list of motels in Albuquerque, and just went down the list. Is he at Motel 6? Is he at Comfort Inn? He's blah, blah, blah. And I got, I don't know, Motel 6 or something. And I got, he was going to check in at Motel 6 late that evening. This is a lot of work with the pendulum. Then I doused his name. I used an alphabet chart. What's the first letter of the guy's last name? What's the second letter of the last name? Got the full name. Had the motel he was likely to go to. So I did something I would not do now, but at that time I was new. I called up the motel, and I used my best good old boy voice. Hi there. I'm looking. My friend Joe Blow is traveling tonight, and I believe he's going to stay at your motel. And he's probably scheduled in for a late arrival. Would you check for that, please? And so the clerk checked. Yeah, Joe Blow's scheduled for a late arrival. Fine. That's who the girl was traveling with. So we notified the police. Now in Albuquerque, there are two Motel 6s, one on I-25, one on I-40. I'd called the one on I-25. The police went to the one on I-40. The guy wasn't registered there. They blew it off. Never went to the Motel 6 on I-25. So, all that work. Even if the girl was gone, they would have known that she is in good shape and she was in Albuquerque. As it turned out, that worked out really well because we tracked her. And she was in Tucson and she was found. So, good story. Okay. Yeah. But my point is, you can do your work and still things happen.
I got another weird question for you here.
Oh, those are the best kind.
If you don't mind. Have you ever searched for someone who is no longer on this planet?
Search is probably, yeah. Not in terms of looking for a missing person, but I have searched and made contact with spirits who are no longer here.
No,
I've never looked for a missing person who is deceased, in history.
Let me clarify a little bit. Have you ever worked a case where someone was allegedly alien abducted and never came back?
No. I have worked abduction cases, but never one where someone, to my knowledge, never came back. I've
Tell us,
worked cases. No, I've worked cases where people have been up and come back, but never not come back.
there's a lot of missing people who vanish where a lot of people believe they are actually being taken right off the planet. Have you heard that?
Yeah, the number of missing persons, I forget the number. It's in the thousands per day. The number of people who go missing in America every day is staggering. It's staggering. And I know from my personal research, alien abductions are real. The ones that I've explored, the people have always come back. So yeah, I can't speak to the
cases. Tell us about one of those cases.
Well, there's a case we wrote in one of my books, the UFO case of Lindsey Higgins, which is interesting. My co-author and at the time top researcher George Sewell over in Louisiana was helping me with one of my pendulum books on life on the other side, Paranormal Pendulum 2, what it's like on the other side. And George was very active in MUFON, and a friend of his called up and said, "There's a lady who may have been abducted by the aliens. She doesn't know. She's very confused. Can you talk to her?" So she talked to George, and George thought she was legitimate. So George called me up and he said, "Hey, Dan, do you think we can use pendulum dowsing to investigate this case?" I said, well, let's find out for sure. So George has turned into a pretty good pendulum dowser also. So we started investigating her case and helping her not recover lost memories, but recover memories. And we used the pendulum dowsing to investigate her case. And it was legitimate. She was legitimately abducted by aliens and experimented on. She had all the signs. She had strange dreams. She would wake up with strange triangular or rectangular marks on her body. She had severe abdominal pains all her life. The doctor went to the doctors over and over and over again. They could find no reason for it. The doctors thought she was trying to get attention for herself, but her pain was extraordinary and painful. She had dreams of being abducted. The typical wake up, the wall to your room dissolves, and there's the alien craft outside, and you float into the aircraft. Excuse me. So we were, again, using the dowsing techniques, confirmed everything that she said. And we got enough clues so we could talk to other people that yes, there, one of the nights she was abducted, there were lights seen in the sky. There were people who observed different things going on at this different time. So we're firmly convinced that she was a true abductee. And an interesting thing about this, it's covered in the book. This gets into past lives and all of that. But 6,000 years ago, because she has the ability to reincarnate, the beings, highly evolved spiritual beings is the only way I can describe that, made a contract with her to reincarnate over time to basically help evolve humankind, and that she is in now the present incarnation. We use pendulum dowsing. I know this is going to sound wild, but we use the pendulum dowsing technique to make contact with the beings who were abducting her and are still abducting her. And we said, she is under extreme pain when you do this. Will you please stop hurting her? And again, I'm boiling down a lot of things. But she was kidnapped by the Greys, who did not realize that she was suffering pain. They had no experience with human pain. They didn't know she was hurting. So we got a yes back that they would do it so that she said, you can continue doing the abductions. If I agreed to that 6,000 years ago, I'm going to honor my contract, but would you please not hurt me? We got a yes back. This is a couple of years ago. I've talked to George since then. He said, yes, she has been abducted since then several times with no pain whatsoever.
I love it. Dan, I'm going to get you to hold on. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Author, researcher, psychic intuitive, psychic detective. Dan Baldwin is our guest tonight. His website, danbaldwin.com. We're having a great night. We're going to continue on. We're going to get into more high strangeness of the paranormal, supernatural with Dan coming up when we return on Spaced Out Radio. We're in for a good night tonight. Hope you've enjoyed hour number 1. Hour number 2, right around the corner. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Dan, we are good here.
Am I making any sense at all? This is so complex.
I'm loving every minute of it.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else, but I am loving every minute of it, my man.
Thank you. It's all true.
I'm going to quickly step away. Dirty Filth is going to take things over here.
Okay.
Thank you, Search and Destroy, for another great super chat. Dirty Filth, it's all yours. We got about 6 minutes, Dan, or 5 minutes.
I'll be here.
Oh, perfect. Let me just have a drink of my tea here. Delicious, refreshing Earl Grey tea.
Your drawing's coming along nicely.
Yes, I was stalled a little bit. Cats and alien abductions and all that stuff.
It sounds bizarre, but it's all true. That or I'm totally nuts.
We get a lot of people on the show. I don't think anything can surprise any listeners or anyone that listens to the show. They're pretty much used to it by now. I think a lot of people have come. Sorry, I don't know if they can hear me here, but the microphone.
Yeah, you're fine.
I think people have come to accept that there's a little bit of strangeness in the universe, and
that's what I'm trying to tell them. I'm concerned because some of the things that have happened to me are so complex. It's hard to boil it down.
I know a lot of people. They've got their religious beliefs, but at the same time, they have an experience that goes against
exactly
the usual beliefs of religion and everything, and they don't really know what to do after that. And then they maybe question their beliefs and everything, and it's interesting. I've never been in that position because for my entire life, I've just kind of read a lot about UFOs and ghosts and aliens and everything like that. And I had the generic religions and everything, like the top religions in the world. They've been in my life, and I don't know. It's always interesting. And for the deeply religious, it's going to be interesting what happens when, they have that encounter. So,
well, yeah, I had
here.
I did a presentation on the spirit world, and this woman came up to me, and she was sincere, bless her heart. And she said, yeah, she was really confused because she had some kind of experience, and she was afraid, to go further. And she asked me, said, Dan, does this go against religion, what you're telling us? And I had to tell her, I said, honestly, what I'm telling you, probably it goes against your religion. I said, but it doesn't go, if you look into it, it doesn't contradict the core beliefs of your religion. If you get down to the basics. Because if nothing else, I said, every religion out there believes in the afterlife.
Yes.
When you get into the religious aspect, that's when they start describing the afterlife, and that's where you get into trouble.
I frequently get like the Jehovah's and Mormons, and every type of religious person comes to my house and they bang on my door, and they want to, and I always give them the time because, what, I'm not really sure. I don't have any solid idea of of what's going on. I just have my own experiences. So I always invite them in, and I let them say their bit, and I always like to bring up the paranormal and any strange things like that. Just not disrespectfully, because I'm not going to bring someone to my house and be a jerk to them, because I'm just not the person I am. But I always like talking with them, and it's always interesting because it always seems to be a little bit different.
Well, yeah, when I do my presentations, or even one-on-one, I tell people, look, I'm not a missionary. I'm just telling you what's happened to me. And I'm trying to show you how you can do it yourself if you want to. But I'm not trying to change your beliefs at all. I am trying to expand your beliefs.
It's just interesting, and I've grown up with a lot of different religious folks and non-religious folks in my life, and I don't know, I'm only bloody hells 40 some odd years old, and it just seems like I'm always questioning everything that I previously learned, and
right.
I kind of enjoy it because I don't think I have an answer for anything, and I don't know if anybody else has an answer, and I can't commit to one thing. The only thing I can really commit to is a plate of hot wings or a pizza or something. But I mean,
well, yeah, like I said, I tell people this is what I know so far.
We got 15 seconds, guys. So I apologize. I got to cut that answer off. Thank you to Richard ×2, Search and Destroy, Joe, Walter, Scott, T-Bone, my man. Here we go with the next half hour, everybody. Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Intuition. Intuition is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we have Dan Baldwin. We've been talking about psychic detectives. What's it like to work these cases, whether it's paranormal, supernatural, whether it's people who've gone missing for the good or for the bad. Sometimes they're found alive. Sometimes, unfortunately, they are not. His website, danbaldwin.com, where you can find all of his books. Dan, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Loving it. Loving it.
I thought you'd have fun tonight. Told you you'd be going by fast. That's for sure.
Yeah, we've been at what, 15 minutes? 15, 20 minutes?
Well, it feels like it.
Yeah.
But hard to believe we're in an hour. Dan, right before the break, I was asking you about, cases of high strangeness that you've worked on. What are some paranormal cases you've worked on?
What, psychic detecting or spirit?
Let's talk psychic detecting.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking an interesting story. For people out there who are interested in pendulum dowsing, I encourage you to do it. It's easy to pick up. I mean, if you can hold a rock on a string, you can pendulum dowse. The hard part is just training your mind so that you allow your subconscious to provide the answers rather than your critical mind. Let me put a caveat in there, then I'll tell you a story. Question: when you're doing pendulum dowsing, the question is essential. And I was running into a problem early on into my psychic detecting career because I would get very accurate information on the missing person. I mean, like a location of where he was, what he was driving, what he was wearing, the last person, that sort of thing. Very accurate. And when I would get the answer that the person is still alive. And when we found him, he would be deceased and would have been deceased at the time I did the reading. And this happened over and over and over and over again. I would get tons of correct information, but I was always wrong on, is he alive? Because I would always get a yes. Finally, it dawned on me one time. In my belief system, there's no such thing as death. You know, when Dave, I'm looking for Dave. Dave's body dies. Dave stays alive. He goes on to the next level. So I was getting a correct answer. Dave is still alive. Yes. Dave's body has been deceased. So once I started framing the question, is this missing person physically alive? I started getting the correct answer on that. So the point is, questions are very, very essential, which leads into the story of how you can be right and be completely wrong. I was looking at, and it shows the importance of asking the right question. We're looking for a couple took off from Phoenix in a small private plane, headed to Sedona, Arizona, and went off the radar. And so a group of us were called in to try to locate the person. And eventually, 2 years later, they showed up at one of our locations at the crash. It was under triple canopy, down in the canyon, invisible. I mean, you had to be standing right on the plane to find it. So it took 2 years to find it, even with the guidance. I got extremely accurate information, but I was 1,000 miles off. You know, they were found northwest of Sedona. I had them crash down in Mexico, in a small village. I identified a specific village at a specific location in Mexico that this is where the plane had crashed. And that's what I got. And I got very detailed information about the little town, where where he was staying, in a little motel where he was staying, and all that kind of stuff. Completely wrong, because we found him up in Sedona. Luckily, I was trying to track the airplane. Where did the plane crash? And again, I shrank the box down and ended up in Mexico. Fortunately, a friend of mine who was also trying to track the airplane had the tail numbers of the aircraft, and she tracked the history of the airplane. And it turns out that the plane had crashed 2 years earlier at that little Mexican village. It might have crashed, but it had crash landed at that little Mexican village that I had identified. So my identification of the crash site was right. I just had the wrong crash. I should have followed up with, is this the crash where the bodies are located? And I didn't do that. So you can get perfectly good information that may be useless. So the point is, keep asking questions, keep refining your technique.
I mean, I understand with what you're saying that the pendulum was saying they're not dead, because I really do believe that we do carry on. I'm a God guy. I'm a heaven and hell kind of guy. But I understand what the pendulum's saying there, that they're still alive.
Well,
How did you have to change your line of questioning in order to see if they were still, or if they were alive or dead on this realm, rather than?
That was the next logical step. I just changed the phraseology. Is this missing person physically alive on the Earth plane now? And then once I started doing that, my answers were correct. It's just again, sometimes you have to refine the question. But again, talking about spirits, there is life after death. I mean, I've talked with the pendulum to numerous spirits. I mean, there is life after death. So the person was obviously alive, just not physically alive.
Have you ever had a spirit lead you to the body, to its body?
I've had them impede the search. I've had two cases. One was the one in Sedona. Another one was a missing person in southern Arizona. But I was working with a psychic, very talented psychic. And I was doing my pendulum dowsing, and she said, we're wasting our time. I said, why? She said that she was in contact with the spirit. She said, is afraid of being found because she does not want her family to see her condition, in the wreck. She doesn't want the family, and that's happened twice. She doesn't want the family to see the way I am now, my mashed up body. And so the spirit was actually impeding as much as you can from the other side our investigation. Now, I have been led by spirit to the UFO work, the work with the Lindsey Higgins case I told you about. I firmly believe that was spirit led.
Explain that one to me.
I think, again, when we're talking about higher evolved entities and the spirit world, working with Lindsey for 6,000 years. When I started doing my work on the pendulum books, the Practical Pendulum books, the Paranormal Pendulum books, for some reason, it never occurred to me to do my research here in Arizona, Spook Central, UFO Central. All my research immediately centered around the Shreveport, Northwest Louisiana area. It never occurred to me to do anything else. And all that research there eventually led to the Lindsey Higgins book. And I firmly believe I was directed to do all my research over there so that I would be in the right place at the right time when it was the right time for Lindsey to come forward. I have no proof of that. That's just my personal belief. But I think it was spirit led.
Really?
Yeah, I think the spirits again, this is just my theory. I think spirits are working with higher evolved beings to help those of us who can evolve. I think that's what's going on. And that's pure opinion, but I think that's what's going on. And I think what I'm doing and what my friend George and I are doing is part of that process. Again, it's part of that, get out of the box, open your mind. There's a whole new universe out there waiting for you to explore. And I firmly believe that's spirit led. And you can define spirit however you want to.
You also have written about the paranormal, and you have written about spirits and entities that you have dealt with. What is your attraction to the paranormal?
I can't stand a mystery. I've got to have answers. I have a certain expertise in the JFK assassination. That started back in the 70s. And I had to plug through that to figure that out. And that kind of mentality hit me with, after I got the call to do the Find the Missing Kids call, that started just a snowball rolling. Once I saw and experienced the paranormal world, it's just like, I've got to know more about this. I've got to find out more. Are there spirits out there? Can you communicate with spirits? Are there UFOs out there? Can you communicate with UFOs? Are UFO real? Are there higher evolved beings? What's it like on the other side? Once the question starts coming in, I've got to find the answer. I'm just compelled to find the answer. I hate a mystery. I can't stand it. I've got to know. Nosy psychic on training wheels.
Do you deal with a lot of ghosts and spirits?
Define deal.
Well, like, do they come to you and say, hey, here I am. I'm hanging on out at this house over here. I'd love to chat with you.
No, not really. Every once in a while, I'll get a tingle, and I know maybe mom is around or something like that. But normally, I go looking for them. And then that's not for entertainment value. I go looking for there's a specific reason that I'm going out looking for spirits. For example, George and I worked on a book about the sky people. And that's, in the Far East, we know about the Anunnaki and the people who came down and dispersed learning amongst the tribes and all of that. Well, George and I are sitting around going, well, if that happened over there, it had to have happened over here to our Native Americans. So we started doing our pendulum dowsing thing over there. And he's in the center of the mound building cultures. I'm out here in the cliff dwelling cultures. And so I went out actively for 2 years contacting spirits. I would go to Native American sites and sit down and ask, is there a spirit of someone who was here at the time this place was active. And I would actively interview spirits, just like you and I are being interviewed. Just like you're interviewing me, only it was using the pendulum technique.
The spirits that you have connected with on your side, okay, regarding this, I'm just curious with that. What have they told you? What have they told you about what life was like, what the battlegrounds were, how they passed? How was it?
Oh, yeah. One of my standard techniques, true story. One of my standard techniques when I'm researching, I don't want to say, I hate the term haunted house because I don't believe in that. Normally spirits aren't trapped in a house, but I was, some friends of mine asked me about, they had heard about my dowsing and they said, well, can you show us how you do it? And I said, yeah, I will show you. And I won't guarantee anything, but I'll show you how I do it. And if somebody shows up, somebody shows up. And so my point is, in my technique, I start getting a description of the spirit. Is there somebody here? I'll get a yes. Is it male? Yes or no? I start dowsing age, height, weight, hair color, eye color, distinguishing scars or tattoos. When did you pass? How did you pass? What was your job? Just try to, like you would build up a description of anybody else. And I was doing this with a couple of friends of mine. And I was just building up the description of this guy. And my buddy just sat back and he said, you have just perfectly described my grandfather. Perfectly. I never met his grandfather, never seen a photograph of him, didn't know his grandfather. But he said, that's him. That's my grandfather. I said, well, your granddaddy's here. He's saying hello.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So it was a good thing. It was.
Have you ever had spirit say, can you find my loved ones and tell them that I made it to the other side?
Yeah, if you got a minute, I got a whopper of a story to tell you. I got a goodie. I've told this before, but this is perhaps the most, it's certainly the most powerful paranormal experience in my life. One of the most powerful experiences in my life, period. Some friends of mine had a program, a fundraiser for wounded warriors. It was called A Haunting in the Desert. This is in the Tombstone area. And for a weekend, people would pay their money. And we would, I volunteered as a speaker and also as a kind of grunt labor because they were friends of mine. And people would come in, they would pay their money, proceeds go to wounded warriors. And we would take them around to haunted houses, to haunted mines, haunted ghost towns. We would do seminars during the day, things like that, sessions all day long. And it was an exhausting process. But we went the last process. The last meeting was Sunday night in Hoptown. The Hoptown is the old Chinese part of Tombstone, the Chinese Quarter. And we were in a building that was set up kind of like a bar. And it was a fairly new building built in the 70s, but it was right on the spot where there was a Chinese grocery store back in the 1880s. The Chinese grocery store at that time was grocery store, bordello, opium den, hangout, joint. So we were in this building, and basically we were allowing people to take all that they had learned that weekend about spirit communication and kind of, play psychic. And there were like 35, 40 people involved. And for those of you who are interested, if you want to see what I'm just telling you, it's on www.tombstoneland.com. We ran into a film company out of New York who just happened to be there, and they said, "Can we follow you guys around?" So they were there taping, digitally shooting this program. So what I'm about to tell you is documented. So the three of us, my friend Dwight went over here to rest. His wife Rhonda went over there to rest. I went to the back room to rest because we were just wiped out. And we had a friend, Brian Cano. You might know Brian.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Brian was our celebrity for that weekend. And we said, "Brian, we're tired. This is your show. Have fun. They're playing psychic. Enjoy." And the cameras are rolling. So we were resting. And one of the women who had taken my pendulum class that afternoon was getting something. And, bless her heart, she was out of her league because it was her first pendulum, first time she'd ever tried it. And Brian said, there's something going on here. So he called Dwight over. Dwight's a medium, pretty good. Yeah, there's somebody here. And he called Rhonda over. She's a really good medium. I said, yeah, there's somebody here. Dan, get over here. So I got over there, forgot my pendulum. So this lady next to me had a very heavy necklace. So I said, well, can I borrow your necklace? And that became my pendulum, which, by the way, proves that there's no magic. It's a rock on a string. There's nothing magic to it. I was using her necklace and started doing it. And we discovered, there's a Chinese guy here. He died in, he's a Chinese. He's the spirit of a Chinese man who lived here in the 1880s. And he's afraid to cross over. His spirit is here. He's trapped at this location, but he's self-trapped. He refuses to go over. So, Rhonda's talking to him, it's okay to cross over, but, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's somebody else here. There's another spirit here. So we did some more research. It turns out this Chinese guy had killed another Chinese guy back 1880, something like that. The victim crossed over, went through the light, crossed over. And the murderer was afraid to cross over, so he wouldn't go into the light. And as it turns out, the guy he had killed was his brother. And the spirit that had come down was the victim. He was his brother, the murder victim. And he had come back down to earth to tell his brother, I love you, I forgive you, come on over. You're not going to go to hell. Isn't that beautiful? And when that happened, no, it just, and there were 35, 40 people just, watching this like crazy, and I was doing my pendulum, and when it drops, that's a signal to me that the spirit has left the room, and boom, both of them left. They were both gone, and boom, I was crying, Rhonda was crying, Dwight was crying, Brian had an attack of hay fever. There was a wave that went through that audience of emotion. Everybody was at least sniffing. There were people who were weeping openly. It hit just like that. It was that powerful, that palpable, and everybody in the room felt it at the same time. That was releasing that spirit was one of the most powerful moments I've ever experienced.
2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dan Baldwin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dan, do you have a quick story about any spirits that have been a little harsh towards you? Maybe not wanting to connect or upset that you're trying to connect with them?
No, I've had them tell me we don't want to talk. That's about the worst of it. Like, is it okay for me to ask these questions? No. Should I leave? Yes. But I've never had one of those get out moments. Never had one. I don't go looking for them. I know there are negative forces out there. I don't want anything to do with them. So all my experiences have been pleasant, or like the story I just told you, something beyond pleasant. But the most uncooperative I've ever run into was that I just don't want to answer the question, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find, though, that spirits on the other side are usually pretty adaptive to communication and adept to it?
They love to talk. They love to talk. Again, maybe get into this a little bit later in the next segment, but what they tell me, once you cross over, there are different levels of being on the other side. And the first level, you're still pretty connected to the earth, so you can come back and visit your granddaughter, your grandson, or whatever. You can make contact. It's pretty easy to make contact with the people who are here. That happens a lot. I mean, they're a chatty bunch if you're polite and courteous.
Oh, I believe that. I totally believe that. Dan, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because hard to believe we only have Dan Baldwin for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. What a great night of radio it's been, with his fantastic stories of connecting with spirit on the other side. When we return from the break, we're going to take some audience questions for Dan. If you're in our YouTube chat, We'll get to your questions very, very soon. This is Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear, my friend.
Well, if you want, I've got a brief, funny story about an EVP that I got one time.
Would love it.
Communicating with spirits. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's a bit on the humorous side. But where do you want to go with the last segment?
Well, let's get to that story. I do have a number of questions from our audience lined up,
Okay.
so we'll ask them.
Well, this is a short story. That'll get us rolling. It's a short story, a little bit of humorous. It might
Yeah.
kind of liven up.
Yeah, take your time with it.
Yeah.
Take your time with it.
But I want it to go where your audience wants it to go.
Oh, we're glued to you, my friend. We are
Oh,
glued
God.
to you.
Well, so far this is fun. I'm enjoying it. I hope your audience is.
I hope. Well, thank you. That's a great compliment. Thank you.
No,
I know they are.
make it easy. Not everybody does.
True that. True that, my friend. Are you working on any new books?
Well, I'm just about to release a mainstream novel, and George and I are about to get together and start a new paranormal book. Haven't quite decided yet which way we're going to go, but I think it'll be an eye opener. So yeah, George and I will have something next year for sure. Yeah. Plus, I do a lot of ghostwriting, books for other people.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
And
How many books a year do you work on?
God, 6 or 8, something like that. I try to do 2 novels for me. I'm usually working on a couple of ghostwriting books. Different stages. It's not like I'm all piled up.
Man, I've been working on my book for 7 years and I still haven't finished it.
Just let it go. Trust your subconscious.
My problem is finding the time.
Yeah.
Because when I have the time, I'm tired.
Well, I'm lucky because all I do is write. And so I get up, I can write.
Yes.
5 or 6 hours straight in the morning. That's my regular day. Broken up by, I still have time to do my research, go out to I still love going to the Native American sites. Some really interesting stuff out there. The Sky People definitely did come down and visit the Native Americans.
Oh, yes.
Frequently.
I fully agree with that, man.
Yeah. Interesting thing we discovered. Don't let me run into your show, but they traded with each other, but they didn't trade goods. They traded ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had an interview with a shaman up in Utah. He said, "Did meeting the people from the sky change your religious beliefs?" And again, boiling it down, he basically said, "No, they didn't change it, but they have expanded my beliefs."
Our First Nations up here where I live, they have dealt with the Star People.
Yeah.
For millennia.
Yeah, well, we discovered, again, George is in the mound building cultures. I'm out here in the cliff dwellers, but they're basically apparently they're the same people. Same group of people, just visiting different Native American cultures. I'm assuming that the same people are visiting all the cultures out there back millennia. Curious, we discovered. Yep.
Go ahead.
I asked this question. dozens of times. Did you think of the sky people as gods? And across the board, no. We did not consider them gods. They were people who came to us from the sky, but they were different people, but they were people. They didn't worship them or anything like that.
All right, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because I just want to say a quick thank you to our listeners tonight. T-Bone ×2, Gary, Search and Destroy, Richard with a hat trick, Walter, Scott, and Cosmic Joe with the wonderful, wonderful super chats tonight. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very much. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public anytime and feel good about it. Yeah, you could wear our stuff to more places than just a garage sale, the paint store, the hardware store, mowing your lawn, because we got nice swag. No ugly swag there. All right, we're going to get going here in about 5 seconds. Sit back, relax. Here we go with Dan again. Here we go again with the next hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in around the planet. You guys make this fun each and every night, so thank you very much. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Continuing on with our good friend Dan Baldwin. DanBaldwin.com is his website. You can find his books there. You can find a lot of really good information about psychic detectives, paranormal, supernatural. Dan, you had a story that you wanted to share with us before we get to audience questions about EVPs.
Yeah. People ask you, how do you know, when you're doing pendulum dowsing that you're not faking it, or you don't, you're just making it come true. You're creating your own answers. And the answer obviously is, if you ask enough questions, you can go to historical documents and get validation. Magazines, newspapers, things like that. But one of the best validation techniques is called EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, where you record a voice. And I use a digital recorder, which means there's no tape involved. You can't pick up, recorded things, something recorded on the tape earlier that's bleeding through. You can't pick up radio or television waves. It's just a digital recorder. I primarily use it for just to record the session, because I'll come back and type it up and have an accurate transcription. But every once in a while, I look out and we'll get an EVP, which validates what you've been doing. You're talking to the spirits when you ask a question, or you get a response to something you're doing, or something that a question you've asked, or something that you're doing that's very specific. You're dealing with a spirit who is there. And a friend of mine from Texarkana, Texas, up in the Piney Woods, kept having dreams from his grandfather, kept showing up in his dreams. And he said, Dan, there's something going on here. This is unusual. I said, well, let's go out to the graveyard and talk to your granddad. You don't have to go to the graveyard, but it shows a little bit of courtesy. So they've been there since the 1820s. So they've got a graveyard way out in the woods, away from nobody. They keep it up. It's very neat and clean. It's fenced in and all that. There's a dirt road leading out to it. And so we go out there to Granddad's grave. And I had shown my friend Jim how to do pendulum dowsing. So he had a pendulum with him. So we got there and I did my usual. I just kind of walk around, got a feel for the place, turned on my recorder, sat down, started to do the session. I waved Jim over. He came over and he said, I've lost my pendulum. What? He said, I can't find my pendulum. Turned off the recorder, got up, looked around, couldn't find the pendulum. I said, okay, well, never mind. Well, come on, we'll do the session. turn the recorder back on. It turned out his grandfather had been visiting him. Jim was a big landowner back there, and Granddad was concerned that the county was going to take over the graveyard with eminent domain. And Granddad knew that Jim had enough influence to prevent that was happening. So that was the reason for all the dreams. So I get back to Arizona, and I'm typing up the session, and I get to the first part, and I'm waiting, and I hear Jim comes over, and he says, "I've lost my pendulum." There's a third voice that says, "It's by the truck." He says again, "I can't find my pendulum." The voice a little bit louder. "It's by the truck." Now, what do you say about that? I mean, we didn't hear it, but it was recorded. There was a spirit who was there trying to tell us the pendulum is down by the truck, and I've got that recorded. And there was nobody within a mile of the place. You couldn't pick up radio or anything like that. So it's a legitimate EVP, and it's kind of a humorous story how the spirit, sometimes they try to help, and we're just too dumb to accept it.
I love EVPs.
They're fun sometimes.
They are one of the best mysteries we have going. They are really one of the best mysteries we have going.
Yeah, especially when you know you've got a two-way communication going.
Do you find that when you get EVPs, they are actually accurate to your questions?
Generally, yeah, most of the ones that I've recorded apply. Sometimes you get a single word or something that doesn't really make sense, that maybe you figure it out later, maybe you don't. But generally, when I'm doing research, serious research, and ask a serious question, I get a logical answer that fits the situation.
Can you give us an example?
Oh, gee, that's probably one of the best examples right there. But there's been a lot of cases where, which way do I look? North? Am I at the right place? Yes, that sort of thing. I'd have to look through my files because
do you ever get?
I like the EVPs as validations, but I'm not an EVP collector. I don't collect them like stamps or something.
Right. Do you ever get full sentences rather than just one, maybe two words?
Yeah, usually something like, by the truck is a complete sentence as far as I'm concerned. You get more than when the voice is very clear. It's not one of those. You think you hear words, maybe you hear words, maybe not. The ones I count are the ones that are very clear, where you can hear a distinct voice. And usually they're less than a sentence quality, and I think that's just because it's so hard for the spirits to lower their frequency to talk with us. But I've got asked for names and gotten names before, things like that. So I think they're legitimate.
Do you prefer then, when you are communicating with off-worlders, whether they're aliens or ghosts, do you prefer to deal with ghosts rather than ETs, or do you find them to be really one of the same?
Not one and the same. I've had a tremendous amount of experience with the ghost phenomenon. Very little with the UFO communication, and I've had some communication with what I can only describe as higher evolved beings that are something else entirely different. And I think, I'm still trying to explore this. I don't have the full answer, but I think there's some connection between the spirit world and the UFO phenomenon. I haven't pegged that yet, but I think there's definitely some kind of connection there, where perhaps the spirits at a higher evolved levels are working with some of the UFO people to perhaps maybe help nudge us humans along a little bit.
Let's get to some audience questions here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Ian. What is your success rate?
I have no idea. In terms of finding missing persons,
Yes.
probably I would guess 60%, something like that. The problem with that is you provide your information to the authorities, and they're not gonna tell you. You're not going to get feedback. The only way you'll find out is if you read something in the newspaper, or maybe a family member tells you something that happens. In terms of connecting with the spirit world, I would say 100%. Yeah,
All
just
right.
because they're so available and they're so willing to chat. Somebody always shows up.
Let's go to Polly. I would love to do a regression, but I'm scared my soul is not ready for whatever I will find. Should I be afraid?
Now, work with somebody who knows what they're doing. I've done hundreds of past life regressions. Make sure you're working with a certified hypnotist who knows how to do it. And if you do that, the hypnotist will help you build in bailout points so that if you do get frightened, you can come out. You can come out instantly. When you're doing a hypnosis session, actually, you are the one in control, not the hypnotist. So if you get scared, all you'll have to do is say just like a safe word, like go home, something like that. You know, there's no reason to be afraid. Just professional, and I think you'll enjoy the experience.
Let us move on. Let's go to dreaming. New here. Thank you for coming in for the first time, dreaming. I would like to know, do you search for missing children? And which we know you do.
Yeah.
Because there are many children missing. So it is, I guess the best way to describe this is it is a passion for you, right?
Yeah. And it's a passion that's evolving. And again, I think I'm spirit led. I travel from looking for missing kids, which I still do a little bit, but I'm transitioned into the spirit world and into the UFO world. I think I'm being led someplace. I don't know where it's going, but I think I'm in the middle of a process. But in terms of missing children, there are thousands a day, thousands. And I saw a question about cryptids. Now, I'm not interested in cryptids, so I haven't done any research into it.
You don't look into cryptids yet?
Not yet. Haven't been called to do that. I camp in what's supposed to be Bigfoot country, but I've never run into them.
Luna would like to know, do any deceased victims contact you to resolve their situation in the sense of finding their body, returning it to loved ones so they can officially rest in peace and no longer linger in spirit?
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes the spirit will help direct. Sometimes, as I said earlier, the spirit who doesn't want the family to see the mangled body or something like that will actually impede the investigation. And something else, a lot of times, this has happened, I don't know the percentage rate, but it's happened a lot where the spirit will say, I'm busy. I passed on. That body is no longer me. I'm on another plane. I don't care whether you find what's left of me or not. I'm busy doing other things. That's happened a lot. You know, the spirit has moved on, so they've left the airplane. They have no real care about finding the body. They're doing something else entirely different.
Riley would like to know, have you ever remote viewed the famous Dennis Martin case?
Nope, have not. I've experimented with the remote viewing, and there's definitely something to that. I think the pendulum is more accurate. That's why I like the pendulum. Because it's yes or no.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Yes or no.
Yeah,
yes,
easy. The only challenge is training your mind so that you let the subconscious do its thing, and you don't create the answer that you're looking for.
Luna would like to know, any insider information of well-known 1982 case of missing child Johnny Ghosh, the paper boy that got kidnapped? Do you collide with insider information on these cases that is too sensitive or dangerous to tackle?
I haven't worked that case. I don't really understand collide. a lot of the information you get would be considered inside information. If I'm working a case, I pass along everything to the authority. I don't edit it whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, the nature of the work is you're getting inside information. As far as being too sensitive or too dangerous to tackle, I do the reading and I pass along the information. That's my job. I'm not supposed to filter it.
Let's go to search and destroy. Have you ever met with a demon?
Not to my knowledge. I don't. Again, I'm not saying there are negative forces out there. One of the reasons I don't encounter those forces is I don't go looking for them. I don't want anything to do with it. So I don't encounter it. Also, I do a little bit of self-protection, psychic protection along the way.
Do you believe that they exist?
Qualified, yes, definitely. They're definitely powerful negative forces out there. Put whatever kind of label you want onto it. They're definitely out there. I would rather work with what I call the higher evolved beings. You can call those angels or whatever tag you want to put on them. But I stay away from the dark angle. I don't want anything to do with that.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you whatsoever. All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to J Truth Seeker. Have you ever looked into the most famous? Oh, this about Dennis Martin as well. You haven't, and we're gonna just skip over that one. Sorry, J Truth Seeker. Let's go to Andromedan. Question for Dan: do you have any off-world race connections?
Not sure what that question means.
Alien contacts.
Oh, do I have alien contacts? I see UFOs quite a bit, and I think some of them are. I think some of the showings are for me, and I think, and it's not ego speaking, but I think sometimes, and I think this applies to my friend George too. We will have a sighting, and basically it's someone at that level saying, "You guys are doing all right. Keep up the good work." But if you look at the sky as much as I do, because I'm out camping all the time, I'm out hiking all the time, I'm out at night a lot, you're going to see UFOs. They're all over the place.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Fully agree. Cake in a Cup from Australia wants to know, what is your pendulum made of?
My pendulums are made of rock and stone and plastic and wood. Whatever attracts me. There's no magic. I like this shape because it helps. You see the point? It helps with map dowsing. That's the only reason I like that shape. But there's no magic in the pendulum. So whatever, yeah, Dan, why do you pick out a pendulum? I go for the pretty one.
I don't blame you. I like the pretty ones too. I've got a couple.
Yeah, again, like the example I told you earlier, using the woman's necklace as a pendulum, that works perfectly.
Fully agree. Let's go over to our next question from Andromedan. Is the pendulum connected to and with the higher self?
Absolutely. That's my firm belief. Once you, the thing about the pendulum is, once you put that up, your conscious mind is looking at that. So your conscious mind, excuse me, is focused on that. That frees up your subconscious mind, and that's a direct conduit to what I call the higher self. And the higher self, that's a great mystery, but the higher self puts you in touch with basically the universe. So I agree 100% with that.
All right, let's go to JSCO here, who is asking, thank you for being here. Can you please explain the pendulum?
Yeah.
A lot of pendulum questions coming up here, so I just want to...
Yeah. What happens? Your conscious mind looks at this, and your subconscious mind takes over. Your subconscious mind connects with your higher self, which connects with whatever is out there, whatever you're looking for, or in my case, maybe the spirit, or maybe the UFO people. But your subconscious controls the muscles in your hand, which makes the thing move. And so when you're getting a yes answer, that's your subconscious moving your fingers. When you get a no, that's your subconscious moving moving your fingers to get the swing. Your mind doesn't move it. The ghost doesn't move it. The UFO doesn't move it. It's your fingers doing the movement, but at the direction of your subconscious. Yeah, that's where the magic is. You're working with your higher self. One of the reasons I think you can work with this works so well with spirit contact is because you start working with your subconscious. You're closer to the frequency that the spirits are at. I think it's much easier to make contact. My theory.
Tress would like to know, have you ever experienced with souls that have been taken out of the body, with the physical body still being alive and taken over by another soul, and the original soul being locked out?
I've heard of that. I've never had any experience in it, so all I can say is I don't know.
Do you believe that can happen?
I believe it. I believe it's possible, but having no experience at it, I don't feel qualified to answer.
Let's go to Lee in the UK. Do you think artificial intelligence will exceed human intuition and confirm a higher spiritual plane, maybe even confirming an afterlife?
Not as it exists right now. I'm having to deal as a writer deal with artificial intelligence all the time, and right now it's not that smart in terms of creativity. It's not creative. It assembles stuff. And again, I can only speak in terms of the writing that I do, but it's not smart enough to do that. And why would you need an artificial intelligence to confirm the afterlife when you can do it yourself? Why go through another channel when you can prove it for yourself?
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Laura. Which book is best to learn how to use a pendulum?
Oh, The Practical Pendulum by Dan Baldwin, available in ebook and paperback, wherever books are sold.
What do you have in there for people on how to teach them? Give us an example.
Well, I've got The Practical Pendulum is just it's a very short, sweet book. Has none of the mysticism in it, although there's mysticism attached to the pendulum dowsing. But this is a straightforward, this is what it is. This is how you do it. This is how you don't mess it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's also a guide called the Paranormal Pendulum that tells you how to use that technique to contact the spirit world. In a nutshell, my process is very simple. If I'm at a location, I will walk around the location just to get a feel of it. If I'm in my office, I'll shut the shutters to the windows. I'll turn down the lights real low. I put on usually something like new age music or white noise. And that's just to get distractions out of the way. I don't want to be looking at cars going by or getting distracted by the William Tell Overture. And then I'll take about 5 to 10 minutes and I'll just meditate very quietly on whatever I'm about to investigate. And after about 10 minutes, I will do a bit of psychic protection, which is just, a simple statement. And then I go to work. The technique it's extremely simple. Anybody can pick it up. Again, the hard part is just training your mind.
About 90 seconds ago, final question for tonight comes from Vanessa. Do you know what your pendulum is made out of, and how did you choose it? How did you know that was the one?
Yeah, if you're looking for a pendulum, go to a place where there's a bunch of pendulums laid out on a table and look for the one that says, "Take me home, take me home, take me home." There's nothing magic in the pendulum. Pick the one that you feel comfortable with, that the string is a length that you're comfortable with, that the weight you're comfortable with. And in my case, that's a real pretty rock. I'll take that home.
I feel they call you.
It could be. Yeah, like I said, take me home, take me home. Pick the pretty one.
I love it. 30 seconds to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. Please tell everybody where they can find your books.
Yeah, you can find it www.fournightspress.com, www.danbaldwin.com. Wherever you order books, Amazon, D2T, Barnes & Noble, they're all available in ebook and paperback, some in hardback. Wherever you order your book, you can order mine. Please do.
Perfect.
Please do.
We really appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, Dan.
Thank you,
And
guys.
we're going to do it again sometime soon. Let
Yes,
us know when your next book comes out.
Will do.
All right. I enjoyed tonight. With Dan. But coming up next, we do have an hour number 3 as Swamp Dweller kicks things off, followed up by Tim James of the UFO Report. Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Oh, how did it do, Coach?
You did awesome. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I just hope I made sense.
Well, I hope I did you some justice.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You did a good job. I appreciate it. You made it easy.
No problem. Thank you. And thank you to our audience. I apologize. I missed some of their questions. But Dan, we'll let you go here. Have a great night. And we'll chat soon, okay? We'll stay in touch.
Long.
Take care. Dan Baldwin, everybody. I like him. I do. Nice guy. Be right back, everybody. Try and move my chair.
Gotcha. Oh, dude.
Awesome.
I know that was great.
Awesome. How you doing?
I'm not bad. I'm just pooped out, dude.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, long day.
It's one of those days, brother.
Oh,
Great day, actually. Great day.
yeah. Good.
Thank you to Joe, Richard with a hat trick, actually Richard with 4, Walter, Scott, T-Bone ×2, Search and Destroy, Gary, Cake in a Cup with a hat trick, and JSCO with the super chats tonight. Thank you very much for the love and support, everybody. How long is a piece of string? As long as you want it to be.
Exactly.
Dogface Simon, how are you? What Radio Wendigo? Good to see you. Here we go, everybody. Hold on, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, it's the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We really do appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Intuition. Intuition is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Most discoveries on this list are things people found by accident. However, this next one, everyone from elderly hikers to families have tried to deliberately make it through these treacherous trails to visit this next site. Located near the Great Smoky Mountains in Waynesville, North Carolina, are the remains of a Cessna 414A plane that actually crashed on November 24th, 1983. Locals say a combination of hazardous weather and pilot error contributed to this tragedy. Apparently, this crash took the lives of both pilots and the single passenger on board. Due to the rough terrain of the crash site, only the bodies of the victims and the plane's engines could ever actually be recovered. The fuselage left at the area of the crash site is an eerie reminder of what can happen when Mother Nature and pilot aren't prepared for what's thrown at them at any given time. Despite being common knowledge, the trail remains completely unmaintained and remains a popular tourist attraction in the area. I don't want to share the exact details or directions just in case anybody wants to go after watching this video, because I'm not trying to be liable for anybody breaking a toe out there, you feel me? But the information is rather easy to find online, so best of luck to you explorers out there. If you're daring enough to take on this trip, take a hiking buddy and definitely tell others where you're going. It's a challenging climb and rather easy to get lost on. Even the most experienced of hikers have been known to have a hard time on this hike. There are countless drop-offs near the trail, so you have to be very careful. Make sure you're wearing the right clothing, footwear, equipment, and basically have the ability to be able to traverse these types of terrains. This is not for somebody who has an injury or can't be very mobile. Those who do wish to try their luck at this spot, though, should probably start from the parking lot at Water Rock Knob Creek. It's off the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is also a beautiful drive for anybody looking for beautiful nature in the mountains. And though it does seem chill and typical in the beginning, it quickly becomes one of the hardest hikes that you will ever experience. It requires taking giant steps over roots, climbing over massive rocks, squeezing under fallen trees, traversing steep, muddy sections that involve a decent amount of sliding, jumping, and just all-around mobility. Safe to say, if you have 99 agility on RuneScape, you'll probably be okay though. All jokes aside, if you do make it past all of this, hikers are rewarded with the ghostly remains of the Cessna, almost 40 years old now. sitting there, untouched and being devoured by nature. Oh, and if you do happen to make this trip, please be respectful of the area. Vandalism has become such a problem in the past, and it just makes everything look ugly. Why would you want to besmirch something so beautiful as this?
All right. Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another amazing story. If you want more, all you have to do is head on over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/spaced out radio. Spaced Out Radio. Swamp Dweller. Swamp Dweller. You could go to our channel too and hit subscribe. We don't mind. We'll take you too. He's got thousands of stories just like that. So if you want more, go fall asleep to Swamp Dweller tonight. You'll be glad you did. Here's a UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, here we go. Tim James is here in his own studio, not in studio tonight. Tim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing great tonight. I got my lower back worked on earlier today because it was sore.
Oh, that's always
I'm
nice,
like
isn't it?
uncomfortable in my chair right now. Oh man. Man, oh man, oh man.
No lumbar support in that high quality baby.
Oh, it's not so much lumbar support.
Yeah.
It's just every position I am in sitting hurts.
Oh, that sucks.
Well, I shouldn't say it hurt. It's like whiny pain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just uncomfortable and enough to make you go.
Yeah, enough to make you shift every 28 seconds, but that's okay. We got a quick UFO report tonight with you, and a lot of interesting news coming out today. Hearing Chris Mellon, who was originally scheduled to be a part of the hearings next week, has decided, no, I ain't going.
No.
Things to do. Tell us about it.
Well, so on X today, there was a lot of speculation going around, obviously, who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. And so Chris Mellon was actually invited to the hearings. So basically, it came down to, we know that Mr. Christopher Mellon will not be testifying at the upcoming UAP hearing, despite some rumblings that he may. He is going on a long-planned trip, and although previously agreed to testify in September, he backed out due to the new hearing date. But he does say perhaps another time. So in his letter, he actually verified it with the person that was posting, and so everybody's reposted it in the last little while. So it says, "Hey, Douglas, I agreed to testify in September and was very much looking forward to appearing. However, I have a long-planned trip with my wife that conflicted with the new date. Very disappointing, as I have some information and ideas to impart that I think could have been helpful and of considerable interest. Perhaps another time." So, I mean, okay, fair enough. He had something planned, and he's, happy wife, and, that's all good. So, but I had some really good stuff to tell, but yeah, sorry. I was like, all right. So, yeah, he won't be showing. And then obviously there's been some other stuff going around with Elizondo. Yes, he's showing. No, he's not. It just seems to be a debate right now. So not 100% sure who's going to show up to this, but there are some names being bantered around. And of course, 50-50 split, I vetted this, and nope, he's not coming. And then somebody else, I vetted this, and yeah, he's going to be there, or she's going to be there. So who knows? But yeah, Mr. Christopher Mellon, the one that we knew that, we speculated and was confirmed that he was going to go, is not going to be there this time.
No, we heard that as well. We are expecting Tim Gallaudet to be there. It is potentially possible Lou Elizondo will be testifying for the first time. And there was word and speculation that David Grush was going to testify once again. But now we're hearing that's not true either.
Yeah, exactly. That one, again, I saw that this morning, and there was all thumbs up. He's going to show, he's going to show, he's going to show. And then later on in the day, it seemed to there was, nope, he's not going to show. And some of the sources and stuff on X that are usually pretty bang on, or they're, the ones that I go and kind of research on, have said he is not going to be there. So kind of put a little bit more stock in some of the credible people out there that, like I say, that I normally kind of peruse through.
I am really, really surprised
Mm-hmm.
why they haven't released the names of who is going to testify. What is the big secret? Why is this such an issue? This
Yeah.
is what I don't get. I mean, come on. I mean, we're not dealing with top secret information on these people. All
No.
right. They're going to come in, they're going to publicly say what we already know they're going to say publicly. Why do it that way? Why play that game?
I'm not sure what that is. It's a good question, and I thought the same thing. And I'm just wondering if it's, a matter of national security. Like, I mean, they could always fall back on that. I have no idea, but it does seem strange. They've got it. Like I say, this is a big hearing, and yeah, they're just keeping everything tight-lipped to a certain degree. And yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm not. Maybe they're afraid of people contacting these witnesses beforehand. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe just to keep it secret so that when they get in there, they can say what they need to say without feeling intimidated by outside sources that got to them before the meeting. I'm just speculation, right?
Well, you know what? And that's a good point, because that's a possibility.
Mhm.
As dumb as that may be,
Right?
unless you are bringing in someone who is going to drop major information
Mhm.
on this subject, there is no reason to keep who's testifying under wraps.
Agreed. So I guess it'll be a wait and see, and another week full of speculation and tweets and Twitters and all that sort of good stuff. Maybe maybe they will release it when it gets a little closer to the date, but who knows?
We'll soon wait and see. What else you got for us?
I found this super cool story today, and I thought it was I had to share it with everybody. So what I found was there's a public UFO records archive opens in Rio Rancho in New Mexico. So another New Mexico city is shining a spotlight on UFOs, but not in the way you might expect. The portable classroom at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary are the new home of the National UFO Historical Records Archive. It's the largest collection of UFO sighting documents in the country and maybe the world. Now, thanks to a partnership with Rio Rancho Public Schools, the amateur collectors who kept all these records safe over the years are finally making them available to the public. It's literally overwhelming. People don't have any conception until they come here how much material that we're talking about. And it really, I think, makes people pause and realize there's a lot more this UFO subject than I ever thought, said David Marler, executive director of the National UFO Historical Records Center. Marler knows the idea of a UFO records archive probably sounds silly to some folks, but he says that skepticism is welcome. We really don't care what your take on it is. In fact, we welcome differing opinions, differing perspectives, said Marler. The National UFO Historical Records Center is a nonprofit organization, is a nonprofit organizing hundreds of thousands of declassified government documents, news clippings, photos, videos, and more evidence from across the globe, and all under one roof. It's a traditional historical archive dedicated to a non-traditional subject. We want serious research to be conducted here in the hopes ultimately of maybe gaining a better insight into the mystery that we've been dealing with now for 75 plus years. He says there are countless connections to be discovered now that all of these case files are together. Some organizations interviewed witnesses that the others did not, and vice versa. And sometimes there's new insights provided by one investigative organization that was never obtained by this one, said Marler. The more minds, the more sets of eyeballs we have looking at the data, as with any subject, the better we're going to be if we truly want to try to understand what we're dealing with when we talk about UFOs. Marlar's collection, which used to live inside his Rio Rancho home, is largely a collection of other collections sent to him from fellow UFO archives. With all this extra space donated by Rio Rancho Public Schools, Marlar says they're ready for more. We have about 10 to 12 other collections that are also in the queue. 2 individuals I know in Ohio have stated, "You're already in my will. If anything happens to me, my material is coming to Rio Rancho." Whether or not you believe in aliens, Marlar says the overwhelming amount of documentation is worth preserving. We feel it's important because it is an element of history. It is an element of our culture. So that's really how we try to view it. If we can't define the answers of the UFO mysteries, maybe in 40, 50, 60 years, someone might, but they can only do that by looking at the data. While this public archive is not free for all, or is not a free for all, Marlar says you'll have to submit a request on their website to set up a time to come in and visit. The idea is that you'll have full access to everything inside. But why would Rio Rancho Public Schools get involved with something like this? Our students find the subject matter of UFO investigation very intriguing. And so what we want to do is what we want to use that as a catalyst in order to get students involved in other types of learning, said RRPS Chief Operating Officer Michael Baker. So we think that the parents, as long as the students are learning, we're not trying to persuade thinking one way or the other. We think we're going to see some really good benefits from this area. District officials say the partnership is expected to last at least 5 years. I was like, really? So they've opened up a whole UFO library at this elementary school. I mean, obviously open to the public and people that want to come, but it's also there for the kids. I was like, okay, that's kind of neat.
I think it's great.
Yeah, right?
I think it's great that the educational system there is open-minded towards learning about UFOs.
For
Not like
sure.
the education system in Canada right now, where they're asking veterans to dress in civilian clothing as to not scare the kids in their military attire. Did you hear that one?
Yes, I did.
I am pissed off about that.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I did a very short stint in the Canadian military, and when you wore that uniform, that was you wore it with pride. But the thing is that we were told that when you were flying home or whatever, you weren't supposed to wear your uniform. That was the only time that I ever, we were ever told that was not okay. Didn't want you wearing them through the airports and stuff. Don't know why, just followed the orders, right? But
For
yeah.
people who don't know, a little bit off tangent, an elementary school in Halifax, Nova Scotia, for their Remembrance Day celebration, asked veterans to please come and participate. However, do not wear your military uniform for the sake that, due to diversity, it might scare children who've come to Canada from war-torn nations.
Oh my
And
goodness.
my answer to that is this: they don't live in the world these kids don't live in the war-torn nation anymore. Those uniforms are a sense of pride.
Absolutely.
And a sense of security, freedom. That's why it's important to celebrate and honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Now, thankfully, the school finally realized that all of Canada hates them. Okay, and did the right thing while still backhand slapping veterans.
Yeah.
At the same time. So they put out an apology and said, "Oh, it's okay now. We understand we hurt your feelings, veterans, but we are offering counseling to children and parents who are traumatized by seeing men and women in uniform."
So next it will be police officers, and I mean, because some of those war-torn countries, I guess the police officials aren't always such a great thing either. So when does it end? I could go on about an hour, for hours on this, but I'm not going to.
The dumb hurts sometimes.
Yeah.
The dumb hurts
Mhm.
sometimes.
You
That's all I'm
betcha.
gonna say. And I'm sorry to anybody who may be offended by my comment, but
Yeah.
these are veterans.
Mhm.
These are veterans, the last of the greatest generation who served in World War II,
Right.
those who served in Korea, other conflicts as UN peacekeepers,
Yep.
in the Gulf War, in the Middle East,
Oh, for sure.
and you're telling them to hit the road, Jack. You can be a veteran in our school, but don't show off your uniform.
Yeah.
That is the dumb that we have going on in Canada right now.
Yeah.
The dumb.
Definitely don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. Yeah. So,
I'd hate
anyway,
to be I'd
sorry.
hate to be the email server for that school right now.
No kidding. No kidding. So I just before I end out here, I disappear. I found a funny quote today, and it just stumbled across it. So these guys are sitting around and they're debating, what's abduction about? Why do the aliens want to come down? Right? And they're going back and forth about it. And the quote was, maybe they're simply monitoring us like we observe wild animals in the African Serengeti. We land the helicopter, we come out, we draw blood, we do tests. We want to see its diet and its migratory patterns, its health. And then what happens? A wildebeest wakes up kind of groggy, disoriented, stumbles over to a watering hole, and he's like, "Hey, Bill, you're not going to believe this, man. This thing came out of the sky. All of a sudden, weird stuff happened. I was being touched. I woke up, and now my butt hurts." I was just like, that's exactly what we do with the animals. I just thought that's kind of funny.
Speaking of funny,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you caught this one or not.
Hmm.
CTV News,
Oh God,
sticking
yes.
Canada. UFO reporter Daniel Otis
Mhm.
released 2 more photos of the balloon over Alaska.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out how to phrase this all night long.
Right.
Okay, because I am feeling feisty today, especially seeing on X after that idiotic elementary school
Right.
principal making idiotic decisions about veterans.
Yep.
That being said, this is not a UFO. I understand that Daniel does have connections.
Mhm.
Many of them he got from me.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
But he worked very, very hard on building his reputation on this subject, and he's done a great job.
Yeah.
He really has. But this isn't UFOs.
Mm-mm.
It's never been UFOs. The only person who has said potential UFOs was an American general.
Right.
In Canada, nobody has ever called this a UFO. They've always called it a balloon with a drone or something attached to it. It's never been a UFO. Can we stop with that? That's what creates false hype and hope, and what other people like to call fake news.
Yep. And the
Talk to you again, Tim. Thank you very much. Coming up next, it's Dave 101 and the weird news on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
And we're clear.
And we're clear. How did you know we were clear?
Because I do the count in my head.
Around, or are you hanging out?
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
Oh, you son of a!
I'm sorry.
Stick around.
Hey, you got the Dave 101.
I
That's
do.
and you're feeling feisty, so the audience and everybody's gonna love it, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All righty. I'm going to hit the sack, and we'll see everybody next week. Have a good night, and well, actually, probably see you on the weekend too. Be tuning
Well,
in.
we're going hunting Sunday.
We're going hunting Sunday. I thought we were going.
Be damned.
All right.
Dress warm.
Always do.
Later, brother.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right. Hi, Yukon Cordelius. How you doing? Well, get out of here, Tim.
I don't want to. I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna sit here and stare at you. It's like the Brady Bunch. Hey.
Right.
All right. See you guys later.
Later, buddy. All right. There goes Tim. Jeff Steve Garvey's here. He'll hit a home run for you. Martial artist. Welcome to SMR chat. I'm not talking escape monkeys. I haven't even read up on it yet. Luna, 5 years sober. That is amazing. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Brown Dwarf, how you doing, man? This is impressive. I love stories like this. 5 years sober. You should be proud of yourself, Lunico. Totally proud of yourself. Telling you, the Jets are going to make a good run this year. If they could learn to win in the playoffs, they're going to be great. Good night, T-Bone. Have a good night, buddy. Good night, Mrs. T-Bone, if you're listening. I'm tired, too. God. Thank you tonight. We got a ton of super chatters tonight. Thank you. Wendigo. Cake in a cup ×4. Richard ×4. JSCO. T-Bone ×2. Search and Destroy. Scott. Walter. Cosmic Joe. Thank you for the love. And Gary as well. Thank you for the love, guys. Very much appreciate it. Goes a long, long way. Trust me, it does. Do 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 do. Good night, Jennifer Beveridge. Here we go. Final half hour, Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and the Dave 101 is right around the corner. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Just like that. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the week, that time of the night, where I yell at everybody to get off my lawn. It's a Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Who? Dave, D-A-V-E! What is this?
Dave's not here. It's the Dave 101.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
He's the killer! Yeah! He's the killer!
Dave's a mess.
Now that we finally got the United States election out of the way, and here's hoping and praying for the Canadian election to come soon enough, which unfortunately it won't. We can concentrate on the big news of the UFO world that everybody is waiting for. That is the next set of hearings coming up on November 13th. Couple of subcommittees are going to be getting together, going to be doing their interviews, led by Nancy Mace, the dogged Republican congresswoman who literally, I believe, carries a sledgehammer with her everywhere she goes because she's tough as nails and has no problem driving that hammer into people that she does not agree with on a social scale. Many people love her as a politician because she asks hard questions. She will go to the nth degree to get answers, especially if things do not look copacetic. That's the exciting part. Who's speaking, though? Who is speaking? We heard it was going to be Tim Gallaudet, Chris Mellon, and Luis Elizondo. Outside of Gallaudet, we've had 7 years of listening to Mellon and Elizondo. Now, I'm not saying that Mellon is a bad choice, but I do question if they have been following the UFO story at all, why after a week, 2 weeks later, would you ask Lou Elizondo to speak? Now, I'm not saying that Elizondo should not be a part of this. I do question it considering the ULP incident, unidentified lighting phenomena, which, by the way, cheap plug, you can get your unidentified lighting phenomena t-shirt at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. I don't like this. But if Elizondo does speak, I have a question for these Congress people. You have been doing hearings on this subject for the last couple of years. If he did allegedly run the ATIP program, as he says he did, and what many of us believe, why only now are you calling him to the table? You've heard the fighter pilots from David Fravor to Ryan Graves. You've heard David Grush. You've heard Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. You've heard others. This guy says he ran the program. Many, due to the ULP incident, are now questioning whether or not he did, including colleagues like Eric Davis and Jay Stratton, who does have a UFO book biography coming out very, very soon. Why would it take till now? That's like going to Old Navy where you buy your favorite pair of jeans, you find your favorite pair of jeans, then you put them back on the shelf, you go shopping everywhere else for jeans and buy jeans at the other stores, and a couple of years later, you go back to Old Navy to find your favorite pair of jeans to buy them. The other pants you didn't need. It's a cheap example of what is really going on. If he ran the program, why would you take 2.5 years to summon him to Washington, D.C. in order to speak? Now, granted, we don't know if he will be speaking. We're hearing the rumors that he is. Sources have said that he is, but nothing has been confirmed. Look, this may be a secretive topic behind the scenes with a higher than top secret classification on the topic in general. But why can't we know the names? Why should we be guessing who the names are? Why not release the names? That's what doesn't make sense. Unless they plan on bringing out somebody whom we've never heard before, who is absolutely going to drop truth bombs, we really need to question why they are not telling us who they are bringing to be interviewed. Another Sean Kirkpatrick type incident where he says nothing, doesn't believe anything, is not going to work. And the funny part about it is the UFO community, in their ever-glowing positivity, believes that we're actually going to get somewhere with this hearing. This is the one. This is the big one. Now that Nancy Mace has joined Anna Paulina Luna and Tim Burchett and many others on the UFO topic of interest, we're going to get to the bottom of these UFOs, these UAPs. No, we're not. I would like to see them put Bill Nelson from NASA on the stand, and I would love to see them grill him about his lies to the American public, about what he's covering up regarding UFOs. That's a hearing I want to see. I want to see them put Elizondo beside Jay Stratton next to each other after Stratton's wife literally called out Elizondo as a liar, that he never ran the ATIP program. I want to see them sit side by side and debate this topic in front of Congress. That's entertaining. That's news. Unless they are going to bring out Valiant Thor or EBE-1 or Megatron or Optimus Prime. Oh, hell, even E.T. Just bring them out. Give us some juice already. Otherwise, I'm calling my shot right now. I wish there was Vegas odds on this, that nothing is going to come out of this. Nothing major. And those little crumbs that we are going to get where UFO X is going to explode. Oh, I've never heard that before. Oh my God, this is a new lead. We get that every time, and it goes nowhere. They are playing a game with taxpayers' money to go nowhere. The UFO community has ran in circles for decades. Our circles are so big, we've actually made indents into Mother Earth. And now we see the politicians who know nothing of UFOs and the UFO community and the star players in it outside of government officials. I'm thinking Grant Cameron. I'm thinking Stanton Friedman. God rest his soul. I'm thinking Richard Dolan and many others who would bring more unequivocal testimony to open up the politicians' eyes. But instead, we get beige paint. And the people who are going to be speaking at these events probably drive a 4-door Volvo with no children as well. Beige in color, just to tap it all off. These are the kind of people who go to the store and pick up a bucket of vanilla ice cream and don't even get any toppings for it. That's the type of people we're dealing with here. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable with it. Science Bob will be on. We're going to get a couple other people on that night after the hearings to discuss the matter. But really, I wouldn't get hyped up over it. I'm already disappointed, and the event hasn't even happened yet. So it's got me cranky. And you guys out there who've been following this story along with us, and thank you for doing that, you guys should be cranky too. Because here you have outlets such as myself building up events only to let you down. It's Charlie Brown missing the football after Lucy pulls the ball away every single time. How many more times are we going to have to go through this? They are not giving up top secret information in front of the public. They are not going to be providing more videos. They are not going to be providing any information on extraterrestrials being here. They're not going to update whether or not we have crash retrievals outside of hearsay. Anything of importance will have to be able to be stated in a skiff behind the scenes in a locked room that is soundproof to any sort of tampering. We'll get the hearsay. We'll get the oh my goshes. And yet the politicians will sit there and claim this is about transparency in this subject. They use the word transparency like it actually means something when they don't know the definition. It's like people who use the word egregious. Nobody really knows what it means, but it sounds very intelligent when you use the word. Egregious. Don't like that word. Doesn't roll off the tongue well. But that's what's going to happen. We're not getting anything. Don't get yourself hyped up. It's not worth the headache, the heartache, and eventually my I told you so. Because I can already tell you next week's Dave 101 is going to be I told you so. I just want the truth. I want transparency. Real disclosure is transparency. Transparency from what happened in the Kenneth Arnold incident. What happened with Roswell? What happened out at Area 51? What happened to all of these stories, whether they can confirm or not confirm? Even the silliest of stories that we want to believe, like Eisenhower trading humans for technology, or Bob Lazar working at Area 51, Phil Schneider going down a 2-mile-long tunnel shaft only to get into a war with aliens, killing one with his handgun. If we want to know, and the politicians want to know, they are not better than us. They don't deserve secrecy, just like we don't deserve secrecy. They don't get to know unless transparency is only equal to them because of their position. I don't like it. You guys shouldn't like it. So prepare for nothing next week. That's your Dave 101. Here comes the news.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises! I am good at things. Fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
All right, let's get to the weird news here. Nostradamus and Baba Vanga lived in very different times, but they both had the same terrifying predictions for 2025. The mystics each claim there would be devastating war in Europe next year. Given that the Pentagon confirmed that Russian President Vladimir Putin's comrade Kim Jong-un sent about 10,000 North Korean troops to Moscow to train and fight in Ukraine, with the next several weeks, war could be potentially bring dire results sooner than later. 16th century French astrologer and physician Nostradamus wrote how lands of Europe will be involved in cruel wars, adding that the ancient plague will be worse than enemies. Bulgarian prophet Baba Vanga, who died in 1996, shared her concerns for a 2025 conflict in Europe, which she said would devastate the continent's population. The blind psychic, who lost her sight when she was 12, was born Vangelia Pandieva Dimitrova, and later known as the Nostradamus of the Balkans, after she claimed she had a rare gift from God that helped her see into the future. In 1979, she said in an interview that Russia would dominate the world and that Putin would become Lord of the world and his glory would remain untouched. All that will thaw as if ice, only one will remain untouched, Vladimir's glory, glory of Russia, she said during the ominous interview with writer Valentin Sidorov. All will be removed by her from the way, and not only will be kept, but also becomes the Lord of the world. Vanga previously predicted Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the 9/11 attacks in New York City, and the death of Princess Diana in 1997. She also reportedly predicted the pandemic outbreak when she warned the corona will be all over us. It's amazing how that always sneaks in. Vanga claimed that the 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama, would be the first black president, but she also added that he would be the very last. However, she incorrectly predicted that Europe would cease to exist by 2017, and the continent would be turned into a wasteland almost entirely devoid of human life. That definitely has not happened. Let's see. Yeah. I don't believe a lot of these predictions because they're so vague. Okay, let's do our own prediction here for a second. I believe that a team in the East will face a team in the West for the Major League Baseball championship next October. One will be on the West Coast. One will be on the East Coast. Both will have stars that shine, hit a lot of home runs. I see it now, and it'll be played on a diamond. Wow. I tell me how I did on that one, if you don't mind. A California man has been accused of orchestrating a 2016 triple murder after falling for an underage girl that he met at a furry convention. Oh, here we go. Frank Felix, who was then 25, who went as a dragon called Enti, met 17-year-old Caitlin Goodwill Yost at the event for people who dabbled dressing into elaborate animal costumes. When Caitlin's mother, Jennifer, found out about the relationship, she ordered her daughter to end things with Felix, a California court heard. Felix's obsession with Yost resulted in self-mutilation, including one instance where he cut himself in front of the teen, prosecutors said. Felix enlisted Josh Costa, a known Brawny, which is a male fan of My Little Pony, sounds masculine, to free Yost from her parents. And in the week leading up to the murders, the two men allegedly planned the death via email. Felix became despondent and angry and eventually formulated a plan, prosecutors said, and determined they would solve the problem by saving the 17-year-old from the clutches of her evil mother and father who wanted to do her right. Oh, the poor child having good parents who looked out for her. The pair purchased bolt cutters, earplugs, and shotgun ammo. Acosta, who was 21 at the time and a private first class in the Army stationed at Fort Irwin, agreed to commit the murders after Yost confided in them that she had been assaulted by her stepfather. The girl led Acosta to the family in Fullerton, California in 2016 while she waited in a car with Felix. And then boom goes the dynamite. Bad things happen. Well, looks like these guys will be going to jail, hopefully, as the trial continues. Oh, that was heavy. Heavier than I thought. I don't have any more. That's just downtrodden. But that's okay. What a great show we had tonight. Dan Baldwin coming in, working missing people's cases. DanBaldwin.com is his website. I want to thank everybody for tuning us in tonight. It's so awesome to be able to broadcast live to you each and every night about these weird, strange topics. I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. As we say hello, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Ball, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god itself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elgin, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SMRT Adventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good show. Good show. Thanks for coming in, everybody. I'm like really, really tired. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is I am going to, what the hell is going on? I'm going to go to bed. I'll edit this in the morning. My computer's starting to do dumb things, and I don't want to deal with it. A big thank you tonight to, let me see if I got them all here. I don't know what we did to deserve all this tonight, man. But I get Major Lee in there. Richard, and then Major Lee. Cake. You guys are way too kind. Way too kind. I like this. Big horns, Fookers. I love it. Thank you, buddy. Big thank you to Richard times 5, Cake times 5, T-Bone times 2, JSCO, Major League, SOR Wendigo, Cosmic Joe, Walter, Scott, Search and Destroy, Gary. Greatly appreciate the major super chats tonight. Thank you for the love, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show, Wayne Tothrow is going to join us. Strangeness in the Appalachian Mountains. Oh my God, I am waiting for this one. Totally waiting for this one. We'll chat with you tomorrow, everybody. Have a good one. I'm going to bed. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.